I just realized that I didn't quite finish with the examples. I got down to here, and I didn't do the very last part, which is to get the name from the user and submit the name uh, that the user types in rather than hard coding the name Fred or whatever. So let me finish that. So here's that file message.html. It contains a text box and a submit button. When the user types their name into the text box and then clicks the submit button, the page sends the name to msg.php. When it receives a response, it displays the return message in the web page. So I'm just going to finish that problem up. I think it's a good problem. It'll help you solve the exercise. And so let's go ahead and look at that. Now here's the HTML file. And what we need to do there is to allow some user input. So we've got, say, a text box. So that's an input element of type text. And we're going to give it an ID. So we're going to make this Ajax based. We're going to make it JavaScript based rather than the old-fashioned one. And the old-fashioned approach we would have to give it a name, see, and then we would have a submit box. Why is that coming up? Oh, I see. It's like that. But we're going to use an ID there instead. We'll call that the name. And I think I can do that like that. If I put the, what's the size? Is that the size of it? Let me see. The size is, say, 30. Let's do it like that. Let's see what that looks like. I closed stuff already. So let me find that echo $C9 post name. And that should be, and there's the Ajax folder. Yeah, that looks good, right? So we're going to do that. And then we're going to have a submit button. So we'll do input. I think we can use button there, actually. Let's do button ID equals, I don't know, call it submit. And we'll just say, we'll say submit. We could also use an input there, but we'll use that for now. So that gives us a submit button, I believe. There it is. So it'll say hello Fred, okay? So basically, we don't want to do this function here. We don't want to do this until the user clicks the submit button. So what we need, we're okay, we got the container here. And we've got this handle response function. By the way, this is not the normal way that you would see this. Normally you would see this handle response function embedded right in there. Let me do it in the normal way. I was just showing it that way just to help you understand the structure. So normally that's the name handle response, but we're going to make it an anonymous function, and that is the third argument. So normally it would look like that. So we would, especially a tiny function like this. So we get the container, and in fact, we don't need this. We don't need that there. Why don't we just put it right in like that? So that doesn't need a broader scope than that. That was a weakness of my previous code. So let's, but this Ajax this should be inside of a, its own sort of handler here. This should be on the, this is the, submit, we'll call it the submit name, whatever, we'll call it that, submit name. So when we want to do this call, we'll invoke this submit name function. So we define submit name, and we got it in here inside this anonymous function that gets invoked immediately to keep it scoped nicely, to keep it out of the global namespace. And now we need a click handler for the submit button. So we're going to go ahead and add that. So we're going to have a document.getElementById, and the ID is submit. And then we want to set the click handler. Get element by ID. How do we set the click handler? It's, I forgot. Is it append? Add event listener. Here it is. Add event listener, and this will be the submit name. So submit name will do this. And now, by the way, we're submitting Fred. We're not submitting. We need to grab the data from that input text box, but I don't want to do that quite yet. And in fact, this stuff needs to be tested a little more slowly. I'm going to comment that out. I just want to test that this code here that registers the event listener, that works. So we're just going to write to the console, something like submit name called. Just want to make sure that we got that working, okay? So once again, we get the element with the ID submit, that's our submit button. Attach an event listener, submit name. So whenever this button is clicked, oh, we have to give the type of event. It's a click event, right? Was that it? I know we covered this in one of the exercises. And what exercise was that? That was in DOM, right? The one we just looked at. So it's, one click. Add event listener, click. This is the listener, and then false. I don't know what false does there. So let's see. Oh, and also when the event listener is called, there's a target that's passed in. The listener is called with an event object, which has a target as an attribute. So we'll make use of that. And they do, I don't know what the false is. Let's put it in there for now. Now submit name gets an event object. I'll just type that as an E there. That's event object. We'll ignore it for now, and then we'll add it. That's got to get commented out. We'll add that in. We'll make use of that event object in a moment. Let's see if we're just printing submit name called. All right, let's see that. Reload this. Hit submit. Oops, I forgot to open up the console. Is not a function. So this should be console.log. Sorry about that. Whoops, thought I was in VI. All right. We got some warning here. I'm not going to look into that. There it is. See, submit name called. We got it. And that works. So that's debugged. But let's do a little bit more debugging on that. Let's, in the event, let's look at this target. So we got E is the event object. It has a target attribute. And in the target attribute, it's got the target attribute will be this button. Oh, what we need actually is, we don't care about the target. No, I think we'll just do this differently. Let's just use document. What we could do is search up the tree, right? We could look at the previous sibling, the input element, but let's just use get element by ID. I think that's a lot easier. So we don't need to use the target. I mean, unless we want to like walk through the tree and grab it that way. Why don't we just grab it this way? It's the easier. The ID is name. Oops, it should be in lowercase. Now, once we got this element, we want the value. I believe that's what it is. I believe that's what we need. So this is, we'll do var name equals. I'm going to pull out the name. I think that's how we do it, but we'll need to check that. So once again, we'll use the console function, console log function rather, and we'll just print the name. So it should print whatever in that text box. Let's see if that works. All right, so I'm going to go ZZZ. There it is, ZZZ. We got that working. Now, let's go ahead and send the name to our PHP script. So it calls PHP, and we're going to send the name, not Fred. We don't want to send Fred. We want to send the name here. Name. That looks funny, doesn't it? But this first name is just a string. We could have wrote this. We could have written this, rather. That's equivalent. Maybe if we write it like that, it's easier to see. And the second name is the variable name. I like it like this, but maybe that's not readable for people. I'll let you be the judge. I believe that you'll think that's more readable. And then the container, we grab the container. Oh, this is the callback function. And when the callback runs, we get the container, we basically attach on the result there. So it's pretty much done. I think that'll do it right there. Reload. So we're going to say Sally. Submit. Hello, Sally. Look at that. And Jake. Hello, Jake. Oh, look, it didn't clear the container. Maybe that's an issue. So we could do, we append the child here, don't we? So how do we clear the container? Can we look at that up here? This is append child. This is remove child. And remove. There's going to be a way to do it, but well, we could. What do? We get the child nodes. We want to clear the. How do we delete all the children? I know there's going to be an easy way to do that. So JavaScript. So delete all children. Remove all child elements of a DOM node. Yeah, I don't think you like that one. Remember that the tutorial author said that we shouldn't use inner HTML. This is nice. This removes all children, so we can remove child, my node first child. So remove child is good. And I'm reading about this down here. Inner HTML is slower, seems to be more effective. It's for efficiency. So, I mean, this is one way to do it, right? Oh, this is jQuery. jQuery makes it easy, right? Just call it like that. So it's remove child. We pass in the child. Let's do it like that. But you know, there's maybe the JavaScript element attributes. Not that one. Web APIs. This is pretty good. Now here it is. These are the properties, and these are the methods. These are the methods. So I know it should be down in the R's there. Child node.remove removes the element from the children list of its parent. Wow. What is that, experimental? Is that what that means? Yeah. And set attribute. So it looks like that, but that's removed there, right? I don't get it. So child node not dot remove. So that's a little scary to use that one. I wouldn't use that because it looks experimental. And what we want to do is remove the children of that node. So this is it's a little hard to read this, but not too bad. That's the inner HTML. These are the methods. And I only see that one. I see remove attribute. I don't see remove child, though. I thought that the example used remove child here. I didn't see it in that interface. Remove child. I wonder why that wasn't there. Let's find that. Oh, it's called a node. So it's like, you know, it's up the hierarchy. Like I was looking at element probably subclass is node. And that's why we have that there. So these, let's look at the methods. Here's the methods. So for a node, we have remove child right there. We could do replace child. This is remove child. So let me just do that. So we could do we can do it like this. If container dot has child nodes. Oh, we'll do it like this. While container has child nodes, container dot remove child, container dot first child. Look at that. Like that's all in one line right there. And let's see if that works. Reload. So we do Sally, and then we're going to do Jake. It works. Look at that. That's satisfying. All done in one line right there. So that's it. Just that finishes the hopefully I got everything done. This Ajax. I was only going to do 3 videos. I'm going to have to add a 4th video, which is this one. And that finishes. Now you've seen enough to really pretty much get this done pretty easily.